Sulfur, old leaves turn yellow and don't drop. I see this most classically in things like brassicas and alliums. Ever seen the bottom leaves on a Brussels sprouts or bottom leaves on a broccoli turn yellow and just sit there? They don't turn yellow and then turn brown and fall off. They just turn yellow and sit there. Bottom leaves on onions, bottom leaves on garlic, bottom leaves on leeks turn yellow and just sit there. They don't turn brown and fall off. They just turn yellow and sit there. That's a classic sulfur deficiency symptom. Sulfur is necessary for converting amino acids into protein, which means making your plants larvae resistant. If you have any issues with larval pests, whether it's Colorado potato beetles or tomato hornworms or corn earworms or cabbage loopers, any of those larvae, they can't digest protein. They can only digest amino acids and carbohydrates. So if you have enough sulfur, then those amino acids can be complexed into protein, then your plants become indigestible to those insects. Potassium, I'll jump to. Potassium is a transport element and a catalyst in plant sizing. Potassium deficiency shows up in the leaf or the fruit or the stem if the size is not there, so things are getting smaller and smaller. Lack of potassium is obvious in the size and the shape of the fruit. I've got written down here the delicious apple shape shows insufficient potassium. That classic shape of a red delicious apple, full on top and pinched on the bottom. You know what I'm talking about? Ever seen a cucumber look like that?
Yes.
Full on top and pinched on the bottom. Ever had a summer squash that filled out but then didn't fill out? Those are classic symptoms of potassium deficiency. When you have, the other one is when things shrink. So if you start out in the springtime, your first, or whatever, beginning of August, your first tomatoes are coming out on a plant that are 8 ounces, say. Or cherry tomatoes are a perfect example of this. Cherry tomatoes, the first cherry tomatoes that come out are these nice, decent sized cherry tomatoes. But then a month and a half later, you're getting these little marbles.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You see tomatoes will shrink in size. All these things will shrink in size. And functionally, potassium is critical in the filling out of fruit. So we can look at the subsequent slides. Potassium shortage is obvious in the thin stems, thin calyxes, thin leaves, and small fruit. Potassium shortage in vine crops will show as a light or yellow band on the outside rim of the leaf. And have you ever seen a yellowish line on the outside of a cucumber leaf? Right along the outside of the leaf, it looks a little yellowish. If you ever noticed that, that's a classic potassium deficiency symptom. The best way to get a potassium deficiency, anybody notice? Little trick? How to get a potassium deficiency. What's that?
How to get one.
How to get one.
Huh.
What's the best way to make potassium deficiency? To make your fruit get smaller and smaller, to make your squashes not fill out.
Lack of water?
Exactly right. Let the soil dry out. As soon as the soil dries out once, even for a day, potassium will re-adhere to the soil colloid, and potassium is an electrolyte, they say. And as soon as the soil dries out, you only have 2 to 3 months to wait until after you rehydrate it and keep it hydrated until you'll have as much potassium available as you had before it dried out. So let it dry out once in July, and August and September you're guaranteed to get small fruit.
Oh my gosh.
I'm a big fan of maintaining hydration. I understand the critical role of water in life. I do not support the arguments of, starve your plants for water and that's going to make them somehow healthier. I know that argument is used in various places for various rationales. It does not make any sense to me. We'll just use an example here. So potassium deficiency is the underlying cause in the classic disease, which was called early blight, not late blight. The one we've had for decades and decades, where the bottom leaves on a tomato plant turn yellow and then turn brown and then fall off. My understanding is that what happens when you let the soil dry out and the plant's not getting that potassium from the soil, and it's got a baby that needs to get filled out before it's born, the mother plant will suck the potassium out of her bottom leaves to put into her babies, because the baby's more important than her body is. If you're a pregnant woman and you're not getting enough calcium, your body pulls the calcium out of your bones to put into your baby's bones, because the baby's more important than you are. The tomato plant does the same exact thing. It pulls the potassium out of the bottom leaves. They go electrically dead because there's no more electrolytes in there. The potassium and magnesium are pulled out. And then the fungi, whose job it is to digest dead plant material, come in and start eating up the dead leaf. We call that a fungal infestation and spray fungicide to kill the fungus or pull the bottom leaves off, depending. And then what happens when you pull the bottom leaf off? Anybody?
Yeah, you go to the next
The
one.
next leaf turns yellow, and then what do? Pull the next one off, and the next one turns yellow. Oh! But I've got a friend who's a really sweet Italian guy, and he grows these nice, 12-foot tall cherry tomatoes, and they go into his hoop house in September. It's like this poor naked-looking tomato plant. There's no leaves on it. This massive structure of tomato, and he's pulled every single leaf off because they've turned yellow. That's what you do. You pull the leaves off, right? No. You maintain moisture in the soil, and you solve the problem systemically.
Yellow leaves will turn back green.
They actually will turn back green. It takes a little bit of work, but yes, you can absolutely get them to turn back green again. And if you cross the point of no return, you have let your soil dry out, figure out some way to get some potassium into the system. Right? Potassium sulfate is really, really, readily available. It's a salt. It's mined. It's organic, but buffer it with some carbon. Buffer it with some humates. You can get that potassium back into the system. And in the future, remember what Reem said. If you can't maintain hydration, don't waste your money on minerals.